Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Blacktop Banter, and this is episode 61. It seems to be a trend of repeat guests. We do have a long list of first-time guests that are going to be coming on, and some really special guests. People that I don't think maybe anybody expected would be on the podcast are going to be coming up soon. But we do have a repeat guest today. I have my friend Steve Flaherty, who actually has become my friend. We hang out. We talk about all kinds of things, which we did before this podcast. We shoot the shit once in a while and send memes back and forth and whatnot. And I know what Steve likes to drink in Nashville sometimes, and he knows that I like to drink too much. So, you know, it goes both ways. We know a lot about each other. Steve, how have you been, my friend?
Good, man. So living the dream. I mean, it truly has been it's been crazy. We had a lot of those trade shows back to back, so we did get to see each other in person,
A lot.
Regularly.
Yeah.
That was nice. But it takes its toll on getting office admin stuff done. But it's been fun. I mean, I love getting out and seeing people again, and it's beginning of asphalt season. So, what could be better?
Yeah, we did. We had a good off season. Over the off season, now we're connected, right? So you and I, found each other on Clubhouse, which I don't do all that often anymore. Just kind of fizzled because we got doing the banter so much. But I know people want it. I'm sorry that we haven't went back to the Clubhouse. It was an intimate setting. We did get a lot of good stuff out of it too. Maybe once in a while. I always say that maybe we'll do it because if I get pinned down, people will force me to do it. But that's where we met, man. Like, you're like, yeah, I'm not really supposed to be here, but I'm here and this is what I do. And then when you said this is what I do, I was like, dude, I want to talk to you a lot, like a lot. So we're going to do it on the podcast. And we went from that to now we both have stakes in businesses and ventures and machines and all kinds of stuff together. So very, very cool. So what has been going on, man? Like, I seen you at the end of March, right? And it's been all of April, and you came back to a pile of work. I know you did because I did the same thing as well. What's been going on around necoTECH here as of late?
Yeah, so we've been building. We've been we're at that stage of growth and of a company that we've laid down an amazing foundation, and we've done it all without going out and raising capital, pre this thing that we'll talk about later. But which is that's how I know how to build. And your network is your net worth in a lot of ways. And so I've spent a decade plus 15 years, 16 years, I guess, in this industry, networking under different roles, right? Different companies, everything else. And then getting to run my own show per se in this has been an extreme blessing. But it's allowed us to establish a solid foundation. So now it's pouring on things and building upon the foundation and the relationships that we've laid out. And just to point out that Clubhouse thing, like, I mean, I'm sitting here late night in the office, and so this is literally my office. You can see the flag move. This isn't a or anything. And I would plug in and listen to Clubhouse, and then ultimately, get to meeting Brian Hess, and then seeing this Blacktop Banter, and I'm like, this Clubhouse business app, and there's people talking about asphalt on here, and then getting involved in meeting you, and then meeting guys in that group. I mean, so like we partnered with Kyle and other people out of the group for things up in Michigan, and so getting to know and meet the different people in the industry, and then actually facilitating what is a social media app into something that is in the physical world is kind of remarkable. And to your point, I don't do Clubhouse anymore. I'm busy, but like Ryan Austin, we met in that group. And Ryan is actually a partner of ours on a project that I'll dive in deeper, but we were selected as one of 4 companies as part of the Michigan or Next Cycle Michigan project. This will be the largest study of reuse of sustainable or waste materials in actual roads that they've ever done in the country. And Ryan Austin is going to be our paving partner on that, along with Brian Hess, helping manage and understand that project. But I mean, to think that physical world connection of where Neco was headed and what Neco is doing, and then connecting in through a virtual world, and then that
Here
all
we are in the physical world. Yeah.
Kind of cool.
It's crazy, dude. And that's when I started the US Seal Coaters group on Facebook, and you've seen all these people online, and then you've seen them in real life. It was like, oh, this is real life. Like, it's not just this ain't a game. And then also, the ice is already broken. So most of the time when you meet, you're like, hey man, yeah, I seen that you guys were at the game the other day or whatever. And it's like, this is the first time we've met physically, but we've been communicating over and over and over again. So to think that we started talking about plastic and pavement, that was the very first conversation that we had. And now we're going to be using some of that sustainable stuff with Ryan Austin, and Brian's going to be part of it, and Kyle and everybody else. I mean, it's just crazy. It's so crazy to put together that all this has happened. When we talk about like what's all been going on, Neco went from when we first did our podcast together, the very first one, we only really talked about plastic and pavement, right? And all we were going to do with that, and all the opportunities of that, and the Army Corps of Engineers, and how we were going to do all these things. Dude, that was a year ago. And since then, the portfolio, we'll say, or the blades in the Swiss Army knife, that have multiplied by like 5 times. So let's go over real quick I can't even say all the projects, but all the main facets of Neco at this point.
Sure. Yeah. So, I think what we've always kind of viewed Neco as is, so Neco, if you break it down, it literally means neo or innovative, and then eco for ecological, right? So innovative sustainability, if you think of it that way, that's what we're about. You have to walk before you run, you have to crawl before you walk, and you have to build, the foundations and get something out there. And they call it boiling the ocean, right? If you try to do everything, you're trying to boil the ocean. And that's a recipe for disaster usually. Now, I think you can strategically boil parts of the ocean, then collectively that gains momentum, and then you get to boil more of it. And that comes with systems and processes, relationships, and traction. We always say around here, action equals traction. So if you can have constant activity and get traction, then you can open yourselves up for more things. So the way we kind of see Neco, it started with recycled plastics and asphalt, but we quickly recognized, over the course of, when I was doing this in 2008 to 2010, recognizing that the market wasn't ready yet. So I put it on the back burner and then kept in the industry, but selling at different levels and different products. Now that it's here, we're seeing that there is a overwhelming, we've got the infrastructure bill that has come through that's going to be the largest injection of capital into this market than ever before. We've got the administration's focus on sustainability, like it or hate it, the politics and stuff, it's here. And so that drives consumer perception, that jumpstarts corporations of making claims or missions or desires, which opens up the marketplace for us in a tremendous way. So it's like, let's go bite off a little bit more and see how we can leverage what we have to capitalize and gain more traction. So what we've kind of boiled it down to is, if you look at it from sustainable equipment, sustainable materials, and then sustainable data management that overarches all that, so that you can make better decisions, right? So if we're out with, for instance, the robotic crack sealer, crack sealing the roads, and we're scanning the roads and getting the data of what that crack density is on that road, that's a data repository that's valuable. So we're building the system that has that in play, that we can then use that to guide more better decisions with sustainable equipment, sustainable materials. And where do we spend our dollar, right? Because I have yet to meet a municipality that has enough money to do everything on their pallet, and continue to do so year after year. It's just unless you get a large huge conglomerate corporation in, and even then you're taxing the infrastructure even more. So you got to throw more, more money, more problems.
Yeah. Well, when we met here this last go around, when you showed me a card and it had like this. So we were talking about the plastic pavement, the pods, right? We were talking about you can go into that a little bit, and then the crack filling machine, the data, and then was it a cementless or
right? Sustainable concrete.
Yeah, sustainable concrete. So let's touch on each of those real quick. I know everyone's already heard about the plastic pavement, but maybe they're new to the podcast and haven't. Let's go over that real quick, and then we'll touch on all the other things.
Sure. Yeah. So the way we so if you look at it, the overarching entity or whatever is called necoBrands. That's a corporation that then owns the individual subsidiaries. So necoPave would be the asphalt division. So that's going to have its own sustainable equipment, sustainable materials. necoCRETE is the concrete division, which has its own sustainable materials and own equipment that is leveraging the other equipment from the pave division over there. So you build one chassis and you can accomplish all industries. And then we have Neco Waste and Neco Plastics. That's the recovery of waste. And then we call out plastics. Those are kind of one division. But that's the recovery of waste or partnering with waste generation companies that have feedstock that we can implement into infrastructure. So and then necoTECH is really kind of the operating arm of all that. That's where all of our DoD contracts lie. That's the brand name that people are going to know. It's, so it's Neco Technologies. And then it's like, okay, here's our necoPave products that are Neco Technologies, right? So it sounds crazy. It sounds structured. I'm the son of a lawyer, so I cross T's and dot I's 2 times over. But it allows us to be able to partner with individual, so we're partnered with Georgia Pacific on the waste side. They don't have any interest in asphalt and concrete. And so if they were partnered, with just a necoPave thing, they'd be like, what are we doing? And similarly over on the necoPave side, we're looking at some different chemical companies and plastic companies and everything else that have an interest in asphalt, but don't really have an interest over in the waste and or recycling side. So it's a little bit different. Allows us to keep track of stuff, allows us to have unique brands and or product segments under markets. I'm one that I have to blend and go over into the C word world of concrete. And typically over in the concrete world, they don't like the A word and asphalt. But for us, we look at it as pavement and infrastructure as a whole. And there's different things. I was telling our team today, if you think of necoPave as the horizontal market, meaning the one that lies in the roads, so whether that's asphalt roads, concrete roads, that's kind of what necoPave product line is. And then necoCRETE's the vertical one. That's the one that we're building up in structures and blocks and buildings and that type of thing.
I mean, with the way you have it structured, it's open-ended into almost every field, right? So with the way the brands are all structured under there, it doesn't pigeonhole necoTECH at all to being one thing. And when we think about necoTECH and in general technology, our big thing that we went gaga about over the winter was the robotic crack filling machine, right? With the guys at RMV. And dude, explain Neco's, because I got that question a lot, and I was just like, hey man, it's contracts, don't worry about it, it's just cool, that's all you need to know. And explain to them, because I'm just a seal coater, but explain to us how those fit together.
Sure. Yeah. So RMV is its separate entity. Robotic Maintenance Vehicles is a separate entity. They developed an amazing machine that is the first that I've ever seen in the industry, and I'm sure the first that many have seen in the industry, of literally an industrial 6-axis robot on a movable chassis that is they started with crack sealing, right? So it's taking the manual labor part of crack sealing out. So instead of a human hand holding the wand, it's a robot holding the wand.
Yep.
Instead of a human eye looking and seeing where the cracks are, it's a robot eye or a laser imaging system that's seeing the cracks and then telling the robot where to crack seal. We partnered with them because of our relationships with the Air Force and the federal market. That's the market that we have licensed the technology for. So we're the exclusive licensee for the federal market. And what we're doing with the Air Force, we took it through. It's got 2 Air Force contracts on it. It got a phase 1, which is kind of a feasibility study. Phase 1 is designed to engage with the Air Force and find out their needs, right? And find out, does this have a fit? Like, is this something that adds value? What we found was a resounding yes. The Air Force owns 2.2 billion square feet of asphalt that they have to maintain. So market size, I'd say that's pretty decent. And, you know, so that's what we're going after. And then you've got the Army, then you've got the Navy, then you've got NASA, then you've got the Federal Highway Administration, then you've got national parks. So the list goes on. That's infrastructure that we, as the US of A, have to take care of, which at the end of the day is American taxpayer dollars. So everybody should be vested in this, because we're literally using your dollars to pay for this. If we can be more responsible for those, that makes more room for other things. Or less government spending, which is always a good thing. But that's so what we're going to be doing is building a unit that is particular towards the federal market, that enhances on the technology that RMV has developed in collaboration with them. They're partners in all this. And then they've partnered with Sealmaster on the DOT and the contractor side. And so they're going to focus. Sealmaster's, 100 franchisees out there have the option of having this, whether it's in their rental fleet, selling the machines, and those two collectively help each other, right? So you have a hard time getting a state agency or somebody to purchase it. Like, hey, how do we know this stuff works? Like, well, we tested it with the Air Force, and this is what the Air Force is using. Oh, sweet. Same thing with the Air Force. Well, how do we know that it's got this? Well, it's been out here in the commercial market, and we're taking knowledge from there and applying it to your machine. So it's for you.
It's one hand washing the other.
Oh,
What's crazy is to see companies doing that when I don't know what side you're on this screen, but you and I have been doing that for the last year and a half, 2 years and a half. Like, there's two entities. We both see that, hey, this helps me. This helps me. This helps us. Now you're seeing companies be like, oh yeah, this will work out. Oh yeah, this will work out together, rather than just be, one, how do I want to say it? I don't like saying pigeonholed over and over, but one faceted. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we want part of that. We could help you with this, and you could help us with that. Then all of a sudden you see our industry going whoop, as a whole, versus what used to be, nobody wanted somebody in on their piece of the pie. And you notice that everything stayed the same for like 20 years or 30 years. And it's like, no, man, we need to start having conversations. We need to start having conversations, and everybody taking into account what they can do with each other. And dude, there's enough blacktop. You just said the Air Force's amount. That's just the Air Force, right? There's enough blacktop for everybody. So let's figure out how we all prosper at making blacktop maintenance or installation better as time goes on. That's what Sealmaster and RMV has done. So the same sealer that we put down here, that company at Wisco, right? That company that supplies our sealer is also invested in the robotic crack filling machine. That's going to go ahead and progress our industry as a whole altogether as well. One thing I wanted to ask you about is the pods. Are they still going? Are we still doing those things? The
hot pods?
Yeah, the hot pods. Yeah, for the Air Force.
Yeah, so we're in a phase 2 with that one. And so that is a rapid asphalt repair machine that is proprietary mix, proprietary heater. So we will finish up in about 2 months with that Air Force contract. Then we're working with the Army Corps of Engineers, and we will take that on a dog and pony show to about 6 Army bases and show them that technology. Right now, it is very much a military grade product. I mean, this thing is really designed so that you can almost throw it out of the back of a plane with 2 chutes and land it anywhere in the world.
Yeah, when you look at it, to explain it, it looks like the end of a shipping container.
Yeah.
Right. But a heavy duty one of those ones you see with the big ribs on the side, man.
Yeah.
And you can pick that up with the pallet forks,
Yep.
right? And pick that sucker up with forklift, take it wherever you need to go, or a big, end loader or whatever's got forks on it. They take that pod, set it by the potholes, wherever the heck they are. They throw these proprietary asphalt pellets in. They go in, come out the bottom. You got hot mix, right? You patch holes. The holes are up to military standards, military specs. They're using them on Air Force bases and runways and everything else. What do? You patch that hole, you pick the pot up, take it to the next one, take it to the next one, and then store it outside. How big we think those are, Steve? Are they like 15-foot long or?
No, I think they're like 11 feet.
Yeah. So that's not bad at all, man. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like that one. I like that. That one's always been cool to me when you explain it, because it's just like, dude, it's like a vending machine. It's like a blacktop vending machine. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So we manufacture the cartridges ahead of time. And so if you think about, asphalt, what breaks down asphalt, it's, UV, tires, traffic, rain, weather, oxidation, all that. So if asphalt's in a tube on a shelf that's already hot mixed and cured, it's got almost an infinite shelf life because it's got no elements exposed.
Right. Wrap it up.
All we're doing is rapidly heating that. And what they found, the reason that is a solution is because cold patch, even the best cold patch, only takes about 6 to 8 passes from a fighter jet. And so that is the most, like, if anybody can find a more impactful wheel axle load than a fighter jet, then I would be surprised. But that is what the Army Corps developed stuff for, because if it can handle a fighter jet, it can actually handle the larger, C5 Galaxies and everything, because those have a wheel carriage. But a fighter jet is a single axis wheel, 35,000 pounds of force when it lands.
Really? That's how much it is?
Yeah. So that is what is impactful on the runway, that you can't, your car, truck, even tractor trailer hits a pothole, you might have a bad day, you might have a blown tire, axle, whatever. A $300 million plane hits a pothole, we've got a problem.
Yeah, coming in hot.
Especially if we're in, war scenario or supply scenario or something else.
Coming in at that speed. Yeah.
Yes.
That's not good.
So that's what that's designed for. Our ultimate goal with that is to look at the commercial market. How do we, quote, demilitarize it to where it still adds value, but isn't at a prohibitive cost for the commercial market? Yeah. And so we've got some ways that we're doing that. We're going after some funding. So after this, there's some follow-on funding through the federal government that'll allow us to explore some of the things that we found in this phase 2, where we can enhance it, or where we can build it for the commercial market that, doesn't have to have the cargo box that can be dropped out of the back of an airplane. Right. Like, we don't need that side. And that's where the exciting part with RMV, we were literally going and setting out to engineer what RMV built. And I kid you not, the serendipity that happened, real quick story.
Go ahead.
I had come back from an Air Force conference, and I had just debriefed with my team and my board. And I said, guys, I don't know how, I don't know what, but I literally wrote down robotic asphalt repair ? On a sheet of paper. That was at 5:30 at night. At 7:30, I get a message from a buddy that I hadn't talked to in probably a year because of COVID and everything else, that was from my previous job in industry. And he messaged me through Facebook, of all places, and said, hey, Steve, congratulations on the success with necoTECH. I can't help but think that there's synergy with a buddy of mine that I've known that has built this machine that is a robotic arm that crack seals the roads, that makes it safer and more efficient for workers. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And I'm like, Mike, can you introduce me? And so he made an introduction. I was literally up at the RMV office the next day, and we started talking and conversating about how we could help each other. and our strengths. And, they were already moving with SealMaster, which is awesome. And we felt that we could have a play with the Air Force. And then within, let's see, that was May. So by September, we had already won a top 30 innovation with the Air Force award for that technology, had received a phase 1 contract, and it won the Flight Line of the Future contract to go down, one of 6 companies that got chosen out of 300 and some to go down to Tyndall Air Force Base and demonstrate the technology live on an Air Force base. So we've now completed all that. We're rolling that over to a phase 2 to develop it. But more importantly, the whole point of that is, one, collaboration elevates both. I would have spent, a lot of time engineering it. Somebody's already got it. Might as well work with them. They're amazing people. Couldn't have better partners in all this.
No, dude, I love those guys.
Yeah.
Dude, they're the best. People. All the Hendricks and Tyler and everybody, dude, they're great.
Yeah. So, and when you're aligned like that, values are aligned. It's not this contentious point, right?
Right.
They've got their market and stuff that they're going after. It's only going to boost and benefit ours, and vice versa. What we build and do, and things that we find out, if the Air Force needs some particular blower on that versus that, well, that's now a choice option for the other market, right? And nobody had to, it's the Air Force engineering it or paying to engineer it. And then of all things, I've got the Army Corps as the validators and the testers of saying, hey, is this up to par and spec?
Yeah.
Those guys, arguably, I will put those guys up against anybody in the world, any engineers in the world. Amazing group of people down in Vicksburg, Mississippi at the Engineer Research Development Center, and a huge asset for not only us, but the entire industry, because this is what validates tech that allows it to get out there. And so people listening should embrace technology and see how they can utilize it and facilitate it in their own businesses, because hopefully it only contributes to their bottom line, right?
Right.
Putting people out of work. It's like, okay, how do we redeploy? Because the hardest thing and the most expensive thing in any company is manual labor, right?
Oh yeah, no matter what.
Robots listen, they work at night, and they can do things. They don't call in sick.
Right.
And so if you can, and this generation, they're wanting to be more hands-on. They're gamers. They want to be in that virtual world, but also,
dude,
get essentials done.
When at World of Asphalt, Eli had one of the virtual reality headsets on, controlling an end loader, right? And he just was like, dude, and I was like, all right, man, it's completely.
You'll see it. Yeah, somebody will be off in an office controlling the dozer that's out on the job site, right?
I know, man. And then Dynapack had a remote controlled paver. And then you just put the remote around your neck and run it. And I was like, dude, I could totally see my kids doing this stuff. So when we talk about complementing, right, and the robotic maintenance vehicles guys would have had to put in the work to get what necoTECH offered, right. During that partnership. So it shortens the time, enhances the technology, gets it out there faster, and allows us to get the things faster
on it, which hopefully is adoption faster.
Right. And when I first seen the machine, I was sitting back with Todd Jr. We were sitting back looking at it, and I was like, man, you guys got to hook a router up to that. And he's like, well, you can, it's a disc. And I'm like, well, they make rotary routers too, man. I said, I know the name of the machine that does that. I'm like, he's like, well, yeah, we could hook a spindle here, run that down, run this here. I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, it'll robotically router. Then the robotic crack mill machine goes right over it, right? And those are the kind of things where you have those conversations and you're like, dude, this is it. This is it. Yeah. So, ironically, right, we might as well delve into this. Ironically, I bring something to the table, thank goodness. When I seen that necoTECH was something that I could be part of, right? And not so much privately. Like, it wasn't you and I and me saying, hey man, if I give you X amount of dollars, can I get a piece of the pie or whatever? Right. No, it worked out in a facet of WeFunder, right? Yeah. So I'm invested, man. Like, I invested a little bit right away, and I was like, dude, no, I'm going to invest a little bit more. And dude, I love the fact that when you talk about necoTECH, you're talking about me too, and you're talking about us. And when I talk about necoTECH, I'm talking about you, and I'm talking about us. It has allowed, through WeFunder, people to get involved for as little as $100 it was to start, right? And Yeah. Yeah. And it was epic, dude. Like just to be part of it. To me, you know, people kind of give people grief, I guess, when they say, well, you did it on a startup thing and it was a little bit or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're in.
Right.
Like you're in. You're part of it. If we get to the end game and our we get what we get off of after all this, that's my piece of the pie, dude. And we were part of it. We were able to do it. The banter and our social media and whatnot has been able to say, hey, and myself, my personal page and things as well as, hey man, I'm thankful to be part of necoTECH. Like I'm thankful to be invested. You can also be invested. So let's talk about that real quick. How listeners and people within the industry or outside the industry, maybe we got people that are just fans of Blacktop, Steve, and they are like, well, I drive on it every day. I want to make it better. You know, they've heard you talk about everything that Neco is involved in. How do they, if they want to, get invested in Neco and help get us there faster, like we've been talking about?
Yeah, well, so back up real quick onto what WeFunder and what crowd equity in itself is.
Sure. Yeah.
It is something that was created. The most people don't realize how a lot of startups grow and how companies get funded, right? And the game had not changed since the 1930s. The net worth dollar that you've had to have has been $1 million since 1930. $1 million in 1930 and $1 million in 2022 are
very different,
vastly different things.
Yeah.
But they hadn't changed the rules. And so in 2012, there was a group after the economic crash of 2008. There was a group of small business individuals that went to a lobbying firm that ultimately went to Congress that became the Jobs Act to create a new way for small businesses to be able to raise money. People probably are familiar with crowdfunding in the sense of Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where, hey, I got this widget. I'm going to make 500 of these, be an early one, and I'll give you $100 discount. That's the power of technology and the internet and the crowd is you can reach a lot more people. That was still restrictive. Like I could not broadcast that we were taking investment unless you were an accredited investor. So you had to have $1 million net worth outside of your personal home. And I couldn't tell people publicly, like they had to know me. And there's all these rules that the SEC put in place originally. So the Jobs Act changed that. They went through the first 5 years. They started, I guess you call it training wheels, but they still weren't fully going. And then they changed the law again in 2020 and enhanced it, built upon it. That's when we ultimately decided that we wanted to do it that way. I can go out and raise capital from large money, institutional money, venture capital, angel investors, quote, rich people. I'm not excluding rich people. I'm not excluding accredited ventures. I'm just opening up the game for other people, right?
Everybody.
But the platform, right? The Jobs Act is opening it up. So that's the exciting part. So WeFunder recently shifted their message instead of calling it crowd equity, because people don't necessarily understand that if they're not involved in startup financing and everything. So it's now called a community round. And so if you think about it like that, is that what we've developed, I've got 127 people that have invested as of this moment. 177,000. All right. From 127 people. So we're not talking massive amounts of check. I've got some large, I've got some that are just in for 100, 500,000, all that. But what it is a community. Now, out of that community, it's just like the thing of a clubhouse. You know, you're in there. If I need to understand, hey, what am I doing with this crack seal machine, or what else can it do? The routing or joint seals or whatever. I'm coming to you and I'm asking. If I need to hire an engineer and that has to have industry knowledge, I'm coming to you or the other community members and saying, hey guys, by the way, anybody know anybody, uncle, cousin, spouse, anybody that can help? And we've got a champion of people that are saying, you know what, we can be better stewards to the world and be more sustainable, both with equipment and with materials, to enhance our world. And so that's what I like to think of, the $100 voters. They're the ones like, you know what, man, I'm not necessarily using this as an investment thing. It should be, everything's an investment. But I'm supporting you. This is a vote of confidence. And this is you know, go out and this is important. That makes me feel good that we're doing something that is impactful, because at the end of the day, the money will come if you take care of the problem and add value at every level of the value chain. Make sure that your customers are getting stuff, your employees are getting stuff, the industry, the and your investors. If you take care of all that, the money comes regardless. And I'm not in this for a personal huge net worth or whatever.
No, we found that out, right? You and I have found that out where we're just like, dude, we just want to see this thing make it. Like we just want to see how far we can go and how far we can take it. And when you talk about the $100 investors, dude, the guys that shovel asphalt, they got that kind of spare money to throw into that. So why not? Why not throw it in there and then be able to go back to the paver by the side when they're by the hopper and be like, dude, I invested in this company that's doing blacktop paving and it's with plastic, you know, and then all of a sudden there's a conversation that starts, and then people share that, and then more people share that, and then more people share that. Pretty soon we go ahead and we got our base, right?
That's our community. When I need to go pave in Colorado, I'm going to look who's our investors in Colorado and what's their expertise. And hey, does anybody know somebody at the city of Aurora? They're really interested in our stuff, but I could use a warm introduction instead of a cold call.
Oh yeah. Right?
That's the power of the community around. So and we've had a lot of fans and a lot of our network that have followed us along the way. And so this is a way to allow people that have seen us participate in our success without having to put in the daily effort of our success, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's what's awesome, is being able, I mean, I truly take that, pride in that.
That's what I like about it. Like your success is my success without me having to do a damn thing. Like as long as you guys are doing really well, God, I'm going to brag quite a bit about it. You know what I mean?
Being the son of a lawyer, I'll always caution everybody, make your own wise decisions on investment. See if it's something, that's, and know that this is a long-term play. This isn't something that you're going to get immediate return or a dividend on. We're growing this thing to be a behemoth. I truly feel that we've got all the pieces, that this is going to be a massive company in the infrastructure market. We've got collaborations and partnerships to help make that happen. We've got the federal government, both with funding and as a gauntlet test bed. That's what's really cool. But, everybody make their own decisions. If nothing else, just even the social shares, right? Of, hey, man, I'm not going to invest, or I'm not going to do this, but, I believe in what you're doing. That's all. If anybody's ever seen that small business, how can I help my friends with a small business for free? Share their message, this, talk about it.
On TikTok, there's a soundbite and it says, all my friends asking, how come I ain't famous yet? And then it's like, well, how come you ain't shared my shit? How come you ain't shared my shit, huh? That's why I ain't famous, because of you. Yeah. And I mean, dude, for me, when I think about it in that sense, ultimately, when I think about Blacktop Banner, it's all about the network that I've created, right? And it's all about the community that we all are together, that has supported, that has made Blacktop Banner what it is. So then when we're able to think about us having a community around at necoTECH, and that community could do the same thing with necoTECH to see it succeed, and then know that they have a piece in that, right? And that they've supported it and been part of it. That's a damn good feeling, man. Like it's the same feeling as when you get done with a huge parking lot, and even though maybe all you did was fill the rollers up with water, somebody had to do it. You guys get done out at the end. You're all standing at the end of the parking lot going, holy shit, look what we just did. And I have a feeling that when you say the long play, that's what we're going to feel like. It's going to be you watching me drink too much, more than likely, once again. And we're going to be at the end going, holy
I've got some bottles on reserve. That
I hope so. God, I hope so.
I've labeled them with milestones.
Oh, really?
They will not be broken until we hit that milestone.
I like that.
Nothing else. I'm driven by the thought
alcoholic influence. Of just us drinking. Oh, of course. Yeah. That always seems to be a really good motivator for the asphalt industry. I'm not gonna, go ahead and throw it out there, but it definitely is. Every time you hear free beer at our booth, those are the people.
That's
true. Cool. Well, how can people get involved then, real quick, if they want to? How can they find out where necoTECH is on WeFunder?
Yeah, so if you go to wefunder.com, so it's literally WE and then funder, FUNDER, and you can either do /necoTECH, NECOTECH, or you can search necoTECH and we'll come up.
Yeah.
And we just, so originally we did this as a test. I didn't know whether, hard technology, everybody gets software, everybody gets consumer goods, everybody wants to invest in their local brewery because there's perks and everything. I didn't know how this would resonate. I knew how it would resonate with my personal network, right? And I knew I could be successful there. So we set a goal of 50,000. We hit that within almost 24 hours. And then doubled it in 72 hours.
Yep.
And so we did it as a test. We released our financials so this is where, we're letting people peek behind the curtain. This is an SEC regulated thing. This isn't just, we're saying we're doing things. You got to see, what you're investing in.
What you're going in.
So you get to see our numbers. Not many startups that are profitable since day one. We've been fortunate enough to be profitable our first 2 years.
So
We just filed our 2021 reviewed financials with the platform that will be turned into the SEC, and any day they will be uploaded there because the cutoff was April 30th. You can't go past April 30th if you don't have the most current year's financials, because technically you've already filed your taxes and all that. So that's the SEC's rules. So we are extending it. I will tell people I'm going out and raising capital from larger investors so that the rich people get to be in on this too. But the average person gets the same terms as the rich people. That's what's cool, right? So everybody's on the same playing field.
We're on the same level. Yep, we're on the same level with the same.
You don't have to have the 100,000. You can vote with 100 and you get the same terms.
Yes.
So that's what's cool.
Levels the playing field when it comes to that. Obviously it's like anything else when you think about betting, right? Like if somebody wagers more, they get rewarded more. If you get rewarded less, if you wager a little less. But either way, you're playing the same game. Everybody's got the same rules, right? And it's they all have the same input and the same ability when it comes to it. So, dude, when we think about this in I don't know, let's throw the hypothetical projection out there a little bit, Steve. And behind you is the university, right? Wesleyan, right?
Ohio Wesleyan.
Yep. And I gotta imagine in 10 years we may have a different backdrop when we do this podcast. I don't think I'm going to. I hope I have a different one. I hope Blacktop Banner's in its own building and it's a mecca that people want to come to. But what is it going to look like? Do you have any bearing on that? Because technology is going at a crazy rate. And advancing. What do you think it's going to look like, man, in 10 years when we do this and we talk about what we're doing?
Well, so for me, I mean, we've got our own internal goals and everything else. And, I can't hype projections, legally, you can't go out and say that you're going to Google or anything like that. And truthfully, nobody knows. I do think that this is the absolute moment in time that technology is going to disrupt this industry, that sustainability is going to disrupt this industry, and we are playing on both sides of that. Cool. And the fact that we're the only ones that I know that is playing that type of role, that's building in the DoD ecosystem. And the DoD has finally shown, after so many years, I would have never, 5 years ago, if you would have told me that I was working with the Air Force or the federal government as my first customer, I would have told you you're crazy. But we've been fortunate enough to meet enough people in that ecosystem that we've solidified our place in that ecosystem. Most people don't win more than one or two of the SBIR STTRs. We've won 6 AFWERX contracts in the last 24 months. I just turned in our $750,000 phase 2 for the robot. So that hopefully will be our 7th. And then I've got 5 more in queue between now and the end of the year that we'll be submitting. Not all of those are going to be win, but that's developing the R&D behind everything. So instead of me developing the R&D, instead of me having to have this huge lab, we're leveraging our relationships with the Army Corps, with the federal labs, with the Air Force Civil Engineering Center, actually licensing some of their technologies that play into our ecosystem to then market that as well. I mean, there's no better technology than what the Air Force has already solved their problem with, right? Like
Right.
they've already created a solution for the problem, commercialize that, and then more importantly, commercialize that for the non-military market. So I think you'll see us having a presence in both sides of the marketplace.
Okay.
A lot of commercial airports,
Yep.
so we're working with several of them right now as we develop this Air Force Model 1. And then I think it's going to be a lot of collaboration partners, because we can't build and scale. You know, you can't build a lifestyle business. I can't build my own paving company, and own concrete company, and own thing that goes out there and does it all. So that's where there's opportunities to collaborate with us, utilize our technology and our materials. We take care of that, and we work with partners. We work with people that are already in this industry doing it. And whether that's through, you know, dedicated protected territories, I don't necessarily want to, you know, I don't want to franchise or anything like that.
Right.
We want to help develop technologies and materials that can reach this industry. And that takes everyone. That's not just us.
Dude, I can't wait.
We've got large partners. I've got a couple meetings coming up with some massive players in the marketplace that you know, would be investors. And, you know, it might be that, you know, necoTECH, a XYZ company, is, you know, because to break into this in a large scale, it's going to take some $50-100 million type investments. But if you look at the industry as a whole, the infrastructure markets owned by conglomerates that operate under 500 different, you know, multinational local brands. So,
dude, I can't wait for robotic seal coating machines and drone striping. Dude, and Wiscote is going to be the premier. I know Wiscote's going to be the premier, right? Like when we start testing that, we're going to come here. We're going to do it at Wiscote. We're going to do robotic seal coating and drone striping. I'm in.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the point, right? So the next, where's the industry in 10 years? It's going to be that. And the people that embrace that and understand that and use that technology to do jobs more efficient, do twice the work that they used to do, not have to have the large overhead of manual labor, just dedicated, awesome people doing the work. That's where the industry is going to be.
You've seen it. You've seen it. You've seen it in line striping. Like the guys that embrace the laser and the auto layout,
right?
Their efficiency and the amount of jobs that they can do compared to when it was before is unbelievable. And if you didn't embrace it and you were in one of the major players in some of those areas, you got left behind. Like that's just how it was, and that's how it's going to be this time. So hopefully we keep clubhousing and going to some of the expos and staying in the loop. And I think that if somebody was to partner with us and become a funder of necoTECH, they're going to be in the loop. So how can they follow along with necoTECH online, social media, or any other way?
Yeah, we're in all the traditional places. I think we've got a TikTok. I haven't gotten but
Instagram
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We are all there. Most of our @signs are necoTECH USA. Just because I haven't shelled out the big bucks for the official necoTECH.com.
Perfect one. I got you.
But USA, we'll take the Nissan play. So if you know the Nissan story, Nissan.com and Nissan USA.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we modeled it after. So
that'll work. That'll work out good. Then the website.
necoTECHUSA.com.
Okay. All right. So that's it. We've covered everything. Now we get to do something fun. We're gonna do a pod deck real quick before you leave, because I wanna ask you
can we sponsor this one and call it a hot pod deck?
A hot pod deck. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. That's it.
I'll send you the check.
By necoTECH, the hot pod deck by necoTECH.
That's right.
Now here we go. Another brand. All right. Hot pod deck by necoTECH. All right. We're going to see. I shuffled pretty good. If it's going to be a different one, there was someone that already has, we're going to shift it out. But oh, wait, somebody already had that one. All right, man. This is a good one, I guess, because, we're spry, right? You and I are energetic.
Sure.
Hold on, let me get it. What makes you feel old, Steve?
So I'm sitting at Ohio Wesleyan, the Delaware Entrepreneurial Center at Ohio Wesleyan.
Yep.
So I have a role as, I wear one hat. I wear a necoTECH hat every ecosystem that I'm in. But they asked me a couple years ago to teach the entrepreneurship class. And so as long as I had free reign, I agreed to do it. And so I run my class completely different. I run it like an accelerator. I make people build a business, and their midterm is an elevator pitch and their final is a venture pitch, and they can actually win money in the competition. But teaching 20 to 22-year-olds makes me feel extremely old, especially when I'm talking. I'm like, so when the planes hit the tower, remember where you are? They're like, yeah, dude, we were in our mom's womb. Or I'm like, oh
yeah, that's right.
Like,
that's
so
right.
yeah, so the fact that
That's
you
what
can
does
walk
it.
up to anybody and know whether they're eligible to drink or not because you see the one in front of their name, that makes me feel old.
Yeah. I've been this year, when we I can relate to that, because this year, as I'm estimating work and going to see clients, and they're like, you've been doing this a while. I'm like, man, this is our 18th year. And then I'm like, damn, like 18 years, like I'm 36, like I've been doing this half of my life. Yeah, I've been doing it half my life, man. And from here on, I'm going to be doing this the majority of my life. So it's like, oh crud, dude, I'm there. Like, this is my last year. So next year I have a feeling I'm going to be old. So I'm with you on that one. Cool. Steve, thanks so much for joining us again.
Pleasure,
Thanks for
man.
updating
Dude,
us
you.
with everything that necoTECH has to offer. We're hoping that people reach out and become investors as well, along with me. If you have any questions specifically for me, you can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to Steve and the team at necoTECH as well. They'd be glad to tell you what you're getting invested in. I'm sure they will. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just supporting and sharing the messaging. I mean, we believe in, sustainable infrastructure. I think it's here, and technology, efficiency. Blessed to be part of this industry. I mean, that's what I do love, Marvin, is you go to these shows. I've been parts of industries where people are jackwads.
Oh yeah.
And genuinely, you see the Raised on Blacktop guys at the show, and the booth that they put up at World of Asphalt, and the people embracing that, like, that's their mantra, right? That's what they
love it.
That is unique. That's not in every industry. So
no.
hats off, man.
Well, we're glad you're here, dude. We're glad you guys are here with us too, because it makes our industry very cool to be able to show this shit off and to say, hey, dude, this is really going on. It's not just rocks and oil and we're smearing it down. Okay, like we're doing some cool shit now. And dude, I'm grateful to be part of it. So tell everybody there I said hi, and we will go ahead and sign off for this podcast, but we'll definitely be in touch. We'll keep collaborating, doing posts and stuff like that as well. So for myself and Steve Flaherty and everybody at necoTECH, this has been episode 61. And Steve, we speak asphalt. We do. Every time we talk, we speak asphalt. Yes. And we also want you to seal it, pave it, stripe it, and kill it. Peace.
See ya.